Welcome back, everybody. Today, we're on a mission. I'm on my way to Rhode Island. I got a call from my cousin Amber, who lives down in Rhode Island, and I live an hour and a half north of that. Well, let me tell you about my cousin Amber. She is the salt of the earth, um, good, hardworking, honest woman. She's just one of my favorite family members because she's just a great person. And she's one of those people who would do anything for you if she could, and I feel that anything she needs within reason, I would be more than happy to help her with. So when she called me and said she needed some help with her car, I said absolutely. I'll be right down. so um, that's where I'm going. So Amber drives a 2009 Hyundai Accent that she bought as a salvage vehicle back in I think the car was 2 or 3 years old when she bought it, and it's just a good little runabout. I mean, she loves the car. It's never given her a lick of trouble. It's got 109,000 miles on it, and it's got a God bless her. She drives a stick shift. It's got a five-speed stick shift. Anyway, I've driven the car myself, and I gotta be honest, I was impressed. I mean, the car is, despite its age, and it's not a high-end car by any means, but it still drives tight. It handles well. It when it was running, it sounded great, and I mean, what's not to love, right? So the car was she was driving around 30, 35 miles an hour, and the engine just made a funny noise and died. And she had it towed to a gentleman that has had done she has hired to work on her cars before, and he doesn't charge her much. And I mean, to be honest, he sounds like a great guy. Not a professional mechanic, more of a shade tree guy, as far as I understand. But that's okay. But that might have caused her some of these problems due to him not being familiar with that particular vehicle. But we'll get into that in a bit. So he looked at the car. He said, "Well, it's throwing a code for a camshaft angle sensor. Camshaft angle sensor is what tells the computer the position of the camshaft, hence the name, and that is how it determines which cylinder is at what position, what injector to squirt fuel from, and which coil to fire and when. And that is how the computer can sense everything it needs to know about the mechanical position of all the components inside that engine. Now, in order for that sensor to work correctly, everything has to be in time. Or, if I'm not going to get into the details of that. If you really want to know how a four-cycle engine works, I suggest you look it up. There's a lot of different videos that might be very helpful in helping you understand that. But this video, I don't want it to get too long. So anyway, and her car, being a 2009 Hyundai Accent, predates Hyundai's switch over to timing chains. So hers has a timing belt, and unfortunately, that is what is really wrong with her car. Now, the sad part is she bought a new crank angle or camshaft angle sensor. And one of the things you've got to know is that buying electrical parts from auto parts stores is generally a one-way transaction. There is no returning that part if it doesn't work. If it's defective, you might be able to return it, but generally, if it's not defective, you're not getting your money back. And the reason for that is auto parts stores got wise to the fact that people were buying these parts basically to throw parts at a problem that they don't understand how to fix. And it was a problem because a lot of these parts would come back damaged, but the damage wouldn't be obvious. Um, and it was becoming a headache because people were buying parts for diagnosing problems. That is not the right way to diagnose a problem. But I digress. So, long story short, the timing belt is clearly a problem here. So she didn't really know what to do at this point, and the mechanic that worked on the car didn't know enough, I guess, to give her any guidance on, I mean, do we replace the belt or what do we do here? So when she called me, I asked her if anybody had explained to her what an interference engine is, and apparently that hadn't happened. So I became the bearer of bad news. The 2009 Hyundai Accent not only is a timing belt equipped engine, but it is an interference engine. And that's bad news bears. Because depending on the circumstances, we could be dealing with no damage at all. Okay, nothing wrong. Just put a new belt on there, new tensioners, maybe a couple of new seals, and you're on your way and running. Or we're dealing with a severely damaged engine that could mean replacing the entire motor, block and all. And unfortunately, the mechanic she brought the car to did not have the necessary tools or wherewithal to determine where we are on this spectrum of destructiveness. So she called me up for a second opinion, and I said, tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to come down there, I'm going to bring a few basic tools with me, and we're going to see we already know the timing belt is broken. And we know what that costs to fix, but what we don't know is if this engine is even worth saving. And that's what we're going to do right now. So, just so you know, I'm bringing the tools needed to remove the coil packs, spark plugs, and a borescope. If you don't already own a borescope, you need to. The one I used is one that I paid $40 for, maybe. I think I paid less than that. It was the cheapest borescope money can buy, and I got it from the As Seen on TV store in my local mall. And it's a terrible, terrible camera, but it got the job done, as you're about to see. Let's take a look, and we're going to meet Amber, and we're going to meet her 2009 Hyundai Accent, and we're going to see if it's even worth fixing. Okay, so here's the car that we're working on. It's a 2008? 2009 Hyundai Accent with how many miles?
109,000.
109, more than I thought. This is the last of the hydraulic power steering Accents. Anyway, timing belt is right there behind that cover, and it's designed to be replaced. To replace it, you simply remove the motor mount, accessory belts, this cover, and it's a lot easier to do when the engine is still in time, but right now it's not. So anyway, so I'm going to have my cousin hold the camera while I dig in. So we're going to start by removing the engine cover. Okay. So now we need to remove, we're going to start with one coil pack. These clips come undone, I believe, like that.
These are the coil packs you put in.
Yes, well, spark plugs, yeah. I did those a while ago. Yeah. That was the last time I used it. So just a quick rundown of what happened. She was driving at, 35 miles an hour?
35, 40. Engine
stalled. Car's got 9,000 miles. Never had a timing belt done. And at some point, someone did try to recrank the engine, either you or the mechanic, not knowing what was going on. Let's take a look at this. It's burning nice, although these plugs are worn out already.
Are you serious?
Yeah, and it should be done again. Assuming the engine's not toasted. Okay, so then what we're going to do is drop the camera down in there. I have this is a cheap Lizard cam. It was like $40. I wouldn't recommend it to my worst enemy, but it does work. and it just shows us what's going on inside. So I have this mirror attachment on here that will look up at the valves. Let's see what's going on.
It's impossible to do this with an umbrella.
Okay, let's see if we can get in there. Can't really see much. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend this camera to anyone. It doesn't focus very nicely. Okay, I can see, what am I seeing here? Okay, I can see a valve here. There's another one. What I'm looking for, can you see that on the camera?
No, not really. I have to really put it right.
So what I'm actually looking for are little shiny spots that would indicate collision had occurred.
Are you seeing any?
And this one, no. Although I don't have a very good look at it. These valves are partway open, but not all the way. So we're looking at, these are the threads, the spark plug hole threads. And there's one of the valves. That might be an exhaust valve. Those are the only two I can see. There's one there. There's one over here. I can't see the others. Yeah, those are the exhaust valves. I can't see the intake valves. So in that case, we're going to look at the top of the piston and see. I'm going to take it back out. Come on.
Is it stuck?
A little bit. Oh, it'll come out. There we go. We're going to take this off. Actually looks really clean in there. I'm impressed. And we're going to look at the top of the piston, and we're going to see if there's any shiny spots. Okay.
And shiny spots are bad?
Shiny spots are bad. Shiny spots means something hit. So we're looking at the top of the piston now. Ooh.
Uh-oh.
I wish it were brighter. It doesn't. The good news is there is a little bit of carbon on this, so that'll mark it real easily. Now those are just recessions in the piston to allow for the valves to go in. Okay. If they're closed, actually, if they're closed, that is good because that means they didn't. There's no way they could have been cut and hit. So.
Well, when it stalled, it like popped the gear out of place at the same time.
Oh, it did?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you do need. Take a look at this. This is this electrode is worn smooth. It's time for plugs anyway. But
we won't do that till after we know if the belt's okay to do.
That's right.
It's not worth it.
Not at all. And the good news is, I mean, even if the engine is catastrophically destroyed, I mean, you can get an engine for this car for very little money. It's not like a rare car. It's not an expensive car. I mean, would I put an engine in it? Probably not. But, I mean, that's entirely up to you.
No, I wouldn't.
Yeah. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the coil pack back on. Okay, routine number 2.
Look.
Alright. Okay. Let's get this on. Yeah, umbrella would be nice. Just so I can see this camera. Thank you. Alright. Okay, you can see this is, I believe we're looking at a, let me exhaust valve here. And this looks nice. I don't see any signs of any impact here. So the ones that are closed are usually, they're good because the camshaft stopped when the valve was up in the closed position. It's the ones that are fully open you really got to worry about.
So 1 and 2 are good?
Uh-huh. Well, there's 4 valves in each cylinder.
Yep.
And this one here, I can't get a good look at. So what I'm doing is I'm looking at each valve head, and then I'm going to look at the top of the piston for any signs of collision. And you can see this one. It's partway open. It doesn't look like it's open enough to cause any issues.
I'll put this phone on it.
I'll let you know in a sec. You can see the top of the piston travel. And okay, let's get back down in there. That looks nice. That looks nice. Okay. I think we're good there. I'm going to take this off. I'm going to take a look at the top of the piston. It's hard to say, but I think we have a hit. I've got 2 very distinct semicircular markings right there. That may be signs of a valve hit. Those look a little bit too recent to be incidental. And what do I have here? Looks like, yeah. I'm not liking what I'm seeing here. Those are 2 very distinct markings right there. Yeah. Looks like it might be a hit, but let's take a look at the one next to it. Right. So we're gonna start. I'm gonna just start with the. This one should be in the same position as the one next to it. So. Come on now, 2. This one was at compression stroke, or at top dead center. This one was in the position of being about to fire. So that's good. That means it didn't get hit. Let me try it with this off again. This was forensics. This one doesn't look bad. This one was in the right position at the right time. I mean, it's burning perfect. There's no oil consumption. There's no... It's nothing. I mean, what the hell?
And the oil light and the battery light came on when it died.
That's supposed to happen. And that's because when the engine stalled, the oil pump stopped with it. Okay. I really wish this thing had better contrast. Okay, it hit. It did hit. There's a hit mark right there. But it's not a bad one. I mean, it's right in the top left corner there. See it? The little...
No, all I'm seeing is reflection.
Okay. There is a hit mark. But not... And there's another one. But again, that's actually not bad news. That's probably what you don't want to see.
And broken valves.
A broken valve, a cracked piston, a scored cylinder wall. Really, that's...
And you don't see any of that?
Nothing like that. But you're gonna have a hit. I was expecting that. Um, here's what you can do. Get a price. Have your mechanic price out what it would take to put a junkyard head in this thing. That's going to be your worst case scenario at this point. So what you do is you proceed with the timing belt.
Yep.
Proceed with the timing belt. Get it running again. And because it'll run. I think it'll run. And let's see if I can get a better view.
This thing ran for 2 months without transmission fluid, and I didn't know it.
Holy shit. Really?
Yep.
And it came back to life.
And it came back to life.
Well, you know what? This car likes you.
To be abused.
Perfect car for you.
In my defense, I didn't know the transmission fluid was a very slow leak.
Well,
so
manual transmissions don't have dipsticks, which is a real crying shame. But,
Yes.
All right, so at this point, we've confirmed my suspicions that there were definitely piston to valve strikes. But they weren't catastrophic strikes in that, the valves didn't look severely damaged from what I could see. Again, the camera that I used really wasn't up to the task, and I'll probably get rid of it and get a better one. But ultimately, what we proved here is that it looks like she has a good block. One of the things I was observing while I was doing all this, as you might have noticed, is I was looking at the plugs as I was pulling them out to see if there are any signs of oil consumption. Heavy carbon deposits, signs of it running rich, signs of it running lean. And honestly, I haven't really seen better, to be honest. This engine is running absolutely perfectly fine. And what that indicates is that the lower end can sustain more mileage. It can be brought back to life, and it can continue providing years of reliable service. In that there won't be any major oil consumption issues in the very near future. I don't anticipate bent rods. I didn't see collision damage that would support that theory. What I did see was a perfectly healthy lower end and a potential for bent valves. What I did recommend to her at the end of this video was that she go ahead and proceed with a timing belt kit. Don't bother with a water pump or plugs yet. Just get the timing belt kit done and see how well it runs. It should run. I think it'll run. And go from there. If at some point, in the very near future, it decides to finally up and die, she's only spent money on a timing belt kit, which is about $50 for a Gates kit, which isn't bad. That's a new timing belt, new pulleys, new tensioners. And that's all she really needs to do right now. That's a very low-cost way to determine absolutely whether or not this engine's healthy or not. If the engine runs poorly, I actually just priced out, or I can get a remanufactured head on this car for under $500. That's the whole head, ready to go on, and all she has to do is pay a mechanic to install it, because I don't have the time to do it. And you can't buy another car for that kind of money. I just priced out this exact car, in better condition, of course, would be about $4,000, $3,000 to $4,000 in my area. And that's from a private party. A dealer is going to charge more. So you can't get a car that's registered, inspected, insured, and ready to run for that kind of money. You just can't do it. Even if she scraps the car and buys the cheapest thing on the market right now for $2,000, she still has to pay for registration. She still has to get it inspected, and if there's anything else wrong with it, she has to pay to get that fixed too. I also recommended an oil change. The car is due for an oil change, if not a little overdue. But the moral of the story is maintain your car. If you have a timing belt, get it changed. Don't wait for it to break. Have a nice day.